Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino. Happy Belmont Stakes Day. A terrific day of racing. These are the days that I am glad that they did what they did with the schedule. When the Triple Crown isn't on the line, I like what the card is today.
Oh, it's
when the Triple Crown is on the line, I wish the Met Mile was on Memorial Day because it gets run over. But great day of racing yesterday. Tremendous day of racing today. It appears as if Mother Nature is going to cooperate, which is always good for the greatest sport played outdoors. So we shouldn't have any hiccups there.
Yeah, because, of course, Thursday canceled the first day of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival week with the Canadian wildfire situation, which certainly felt around here Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes. You could see the haze and you could smell the smoke, and then it definitely did clear out up here yesterday. And just looking at the pictures that had been on the news from New York City as compared to watching Belmont yesterday, it was much nicer New York City yesterday.
And it warmed the heart that the first race on Friday was won by Linda Rice just hours after. I mean, does that mean that they can't impose penalties?
No, they've sent it back to reassess the penalty, I think.
So there'll be another appeal.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, I thought the penalty was crazy to begin with. So I have no argument with the decision there. And for folks who didn't hear, she had appealed it, and the court said, the penalty was just out of whack with what they were looking at. So it got sent back, as I say, to reassess the penalty, I think. But, yeah, to me, the penalty was just way out of whack. So I have no argument, really, with the decision. I mean, the length of time it takes to adjudicate these things, you can certainly question. But, I mean, part of it is going into the court system. It changes everything up.
And I think, didn't they change what the rules are and maybe won't stand up in court based on the Pletcher thing now? That these things got to be wrapped up within 90 days, the Forte hopeful thing, didn't they?
I think part of HISA is their requirements are things get wrapped up quicker.
All right.
Or at least get
now, here's the question. Will this be re-adjudicated or just go away?
No, I think they'll probably relook at it. I think something will be done, but
all right.
I think. I mean, that's a good question.
Okay. So on the personal front, at this moment, I am $18.34 ahead.
Ooh.
I have to get through 2 weeks, and obviously we're having 13 today, which we had last year, and I'm guessing we're going to have 10 next Saturday. $27.66. And as I promised the audience at Saratoga, I had done the same. I did not change the format. I am, to quote Fast Eddie Felson in the rematch with Jackie Gleason, how should I play it, Bert? Conservative? No, fast and loose. So and I should, just to point it out, there is forgetting Father's Day and Denise and everything. This is my great white whale. Denise is like, you should have been a CPA the way you're going at these numbers. I'm like, I can't, you obviously you can't understand how important this is. This is the white whale. This is Mount Everest. And last year,
$18 and 23 races, and you got 9 freebies.
9 freebies today. I'll be plus 34 when I get to the 10th race if I shoot a bagel. And I'm really actually hoping to get it out of the way in the first race today. But she's looking. She's like, CPAs at tax time don't do this much work. And I was like, well, this is it. And what happened is, and I've said this before, So after 50, for me, I couldn't make it by the meets, etc. So it's been like this 52 weeks, and I had a bad Belmont Stakes day last year, and I took the bagel the next week. So I'm trying to replace 2 awful weeks because I'm ahead for 50 weeks, but that's not a year yet. So luckily I don't. And the problem for me is starting 3 weeks from today is the roll, and I'm not so sure I can replicate the roll. So I need to, and this is, I have put, like I said to you, I mean, to the penny, I know exactly what it takes. And Shannon sent me the things, a little earlier because the draws and everything were Tuesday. And I just looked at it and I thought about it once again. Would I take what I like to call the Chad Brown route, or would I just play it the way I've gotten here? And I said, because I do feel this way, and I am not a negative person. I objectively, this is as close as I'm ever going to get. I do not foresee ever being in a position this close again, ever. I mean, I just don't. It's too long. The $95 winner, the tremendous Del Mar meet, a very good Saratoga meet. It's just hard for me to imagine I can put myself in this position again. And that's where I am, which I'm glad to be here. I mean, obviously I beat the takeout a long time ago, but that's it. That's it. That's 27.66 to get to a 52-week period in the black, which what can I say? I mean, it's I want it more than anything I've ever wanted for myself. Besides being a good husband and good father, there's nothing I've ever wanted more.
Now we're all going to be counting down with you.
Oh, I'm going to be
18 up and 23, expectedly 23. Right. I think you're probably right about next week.
Yeah, right, exactly. I need 10. I mean, I know they're running 11 tomorrow, but that's the weekend thing. So I'm expecting there's 23 more races. That's what I need to do, and we're just gonna go. Now, I will say this: I don't think this would happen, but I could be crawling up the hill, and I could maybe change my orientation the last 5 races next Saturday. If I am tantalizingly close, I might have to recalibrate to just get that drink of water. That's
so yeah, you're
and just so people know, the 34 cents is because of the petulant winning on Derby Day down at Churchill Downs. But please, I didn't.
So you need 30 to guarantee you're over. You're 18 now.
I'm plus 18.
You have
I'm going to have
to
23 races. So there's $46. So I need $28. 27.60. I've done this a lot. I've done this a lot. There's a scene in Good Will Hunting when he hands it back to the guy who's like his guardian. He goes, the numbers are right. He just hands it to him like the guy wants to double check. He goes, the numbers are right. Just stop. It's like yes. That's where I am.
So that is very doable, obviously. It's going to be interesting.
It's doable, except, Seth, I'm looking at last year's Belmont Stakes Day, $12, and the week after, $0.
But the thing about big days, they can go either way.
Yes. Listen, between what I was saying, between Churchill Downs and, Preakness Day, it was a discussion we were having. I was like, 3 for 27, but I finished in the black, and it never explained did all the heavy lifting for me. And that's where I am today. And, I suspect at some point there are probably folks that, there's a large audience out there that's just shaking their heads, maybe even my boss, but there are probably people that have watched the majority of my work. This is 25 years at Capital that, have, been along with me and seen, what we do and how I do it. And, best compliment I ever got, I'll never forget it. A young guy came up to me at the track one time. We were both in our 40s. And he goes, I give you a lot of credit. He goes, you take those losing streaks and you just don't care. I said, I don't, because we've talked about this many times. I only care about one thing, the ROI at the end. I'm like, when I was on 13, I'd go like 0 for 6 for the week. You know, and
Oh,
I'd be
well,
like,
when you're making best, that's tough because I
know.
used to do that in Channel 10 too.
but
And the
at
thing
the end,
at Channel 10, I'd pick 3 a day, and
Three a
you might go 5 for 10,
The
and the
others.
3 like
and
you're
listen,
killing
I
me.
made that decision a long time when I first started that we would do the feature race for the audience's sake, and sometimes that wasn't my best thought of the day.
Yeah.
But the thing that helped there was we put the ROI at the bottom, so it looked a little bit better. But that's where I am. It's Belmont Stakes Day. Just let the good people know who you have at the top of the hour. Now, what do you got? A 30-minute show again, truncated?
No, I think we'll
We
go
do the full thing?
I'm going to be watching the monitor because
for
I'm
New
guessing
York?
they're going to come on at maybe 9:45 or so.
All right,
So
11:20 post today.
top of the hour, Tyler Weissman from Thorough Pace. If you've been checking the website, the Thorough Pace sheets are on the tip sheets page. You can pull those up. That's part of their product. But thought I'd pull them in and maybe take a little Thorough Pace look at some of the Belmont action today. And then Jeremy Planck, Countdown to the Crown. So we'll get Jeremy on talking about the final leg of the Triple Crown, get his thoughts on today's Belmont Stakes. That's all top of the hour.
Quick thought just about yesterday is because we both have a vote. Is In Italian working her way into the Hall of Fame? I mean, I know female grass runners are, you got to, we've talked about this before, that for us, we think Tepin going over to Europe really kind of completely changed her argument. She was able to follow it up. And, I think if she hadn't gone over to Europe, she might have gotten in like year 10, 12, but doing that kind of elevated her. It's a tough group to get in, but my goodness.
I want to say
She's
one of the
gone
articles
from
I saw,
strength to
Chad,
strength to strength.
Chad said something to the effect of one of the best I've ever trained. And certainly she looked good. And her resume so far is
what's
already
funny was like 13 months ago, she was like the fourth string. I'm like, that's amazing. So are you ready? This is a personal assault and the assault on a great day of racing. I've always said this for Naira. See, this might be a big day. This, Seth, might be the 40th anniversary of Naira being the first track to bunch up stakes races on a big day.
No.
If you look at old programs from the Preakness, or there used to be, and when I say used to be, I'm talking my lifetime being able to drive. There used to be claiming races on the undercard of the Derby. The Derby's thing is new, but I think it was 1983 that Naira started having like 6 stakes races. Now, at that time, they were all listed stakes races, etc. For example, the Woody Stevens was the Riva Ridge. That was one of them, etc. But I think this is the 40th year. I think it was when Woody, probably the least well-known one, when Caveat beat Sewell Gold. I think that was the day. That was the day. So 40 years, Naira ahead of the curve with that idea. We're going to kick off a 13-race card. If you want to cut the lawn, that's in the 6 o'clock hour today. No racing in New York in the 6 o'clock hour. They're going to skip it and go over. I think the Manhattan's going about 5:55. We'll see if that's on NBC. And then about 7:02. Fox. Okay, Fox. And then 7:02 will be Fox. Well, I'm going to be watching you. What do you got today?
We're
got full?
We're going
no,
through the whole,
no cutout?
No,
all right, then.
We're right there.
Oh, that's good to hear. So all the action will be on Capital OTV with yours truly covering it. All right.
Ready?
I am. This is as good as it gets. We're going to kick it.
We'll both take a look at Belmont today.
Doing,
and I'll send it to you in race number one. Race number one at Belmont today. Maiden specials scheduled on the grass at 6 furlongs.
To hit your head, I do the odd. I'm only kidding. I've always done the odd races.
I know, except that we're doing the one. So usually I toss it. Yeah. Well, no, because I was thinking, should I jump in or should I? Because I was thinking about that, but I thought I'll usually kick it off.
It doesn't matter. We're going to kick it off. Here we go. 7-2-5. I know my early double are 8-1s on the morning line, ladies and gentlemen, as I chase the white whale. Spun special for Leah Giramati gets my top pick. Javier Castellano aboard. Second start of the season. And what I like in the return to the races, which was on dirt at Monmouth, for me has the earmarkings of practice because I would think Leah liked the closing race to last year, the turf debut. She gets the last year finished up the turf debut, very competitive, tired at the end, took some time off, came back, got a solid practice race for me. But I am 8-1, so maybe I got to have it completely wrong. But I'm comfortable with Spun Special on top for second. And I went back and forth with Get Respect, who's 8-1. Also, they're adding blinkers. Dylan Davis gets them out. First start since Saratoga for Barkley Tags runner. And for third, number 5, Accept the Outcome, Chad Brown's runner. We've talked about this, with firsters and everything. You're like, I would sign up for 7-2 right now with Irad and Chad. And I'm just thinking 6-5. And it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's doing, we set the odds as the general public. But for what I do and how I do it, that's a big problem for me. It's not solvable. No one's in the wrong here, but 7-5.
I think David Aragona does a good job of anticipating that.
He does a great job.
So you mentioned, I was going to say, I'm going to be intrigued to see what the odds are when they go into the gate, because mine's 5-2 as compared to the Chad Klarvich runner at 7-2. And I have Chad and Klarvich down in the 4th spot, but I have it 9-4, 2, and 5. I put Love to Shop on top. It's Pletcher, it's Rapoli. The comeback as a 3-year-old was a decent little second, but the buyer number improved nicely. And by violence, this horse is bred to win sooner rather than later. So I tilted in that direction, but I really took a look at Chad and Klarvich. But I want a couple in between that I'm sure are going to offer some more value. Oolong High in the second spot, Mark Hennig trainee that I thought ran okay down at Gulfstream, has been off for a couple of months, and I think could come back and be interesting here and maybe be a little bit improved, and also with the chance to improve off a layoff from the 3-year-old season. Lightly raced, but the Barkley Tag runner, Get Respect. If this horse comes back and does improve at all, this horse could be very interesting at a little bit of a price. So 9-4, 2, and 5.
And one thing I'll say is I think the Chad, the angle, and obviously Todd Pletcher, it's more difficult for us 4 or 5 hours before the racing. To me, I'm very adaptable as a vertical player when the racing gets underway. I mean, I'm going to see the price. I'm going to be, I'm guessing, off the morning line here and him getting pounded. Well, maybe he won't. The other day, I would say that I was happily surprised when redistricting went off at 3-1 and looked like a champ, right off the bat.
I think we didn't see that. Pull up the replay.
Yes. I mean, but I was thinking this will be one that, I was wrong. It didn't get back. On to the second half of the early daily doubles. State Breds, they're going to go 7 furlongs on the Widener turf.
4, 1, 5, and 2. I'll put Weekend Rags on top. And again, with Irad Ortiz on board, we'll see if we get the 3-1. But again, relatively lightly raced, has numbers that are good enough to match up in here. I don't think a standout by any means, though, but I went in this direction in that the lone turf start was a maiden breaker and clearly the best race so far of the career. And being lightly raced, I could see this horse moving forward from that. I'm having a moment going out for Bill Mott. Liked the top pick, tried the turf last time for the first time, and seemed to run an improved effort, at least number-wise. And again, being relatively lightly raced, I could see benefiting and moving forward there. And you should be dancing in the 3rd spot. 3rd start back off a long layoff for Rudy Rodriguez. And we've mentioned Rudy has kind of turned the corner now. And so, again, this being the 3rd start, I could see this horse being an interesting player. If the 8-1 holds up, one to take maybe an extra look at, because, again, I think it's a fairly evenly matched bunch. 4, 1, 5, and 2. I
agree. And by the way, there was no advantage to being in the front of the train for Orlando Noda when he started winning races. $4.60. So there's that angle has left. It doesn't matter. 6, 4, 2. And Lisa's Visions, I've talked about on the program before. On the debut, I should say the second start when they won. I just returned to Capital on a weekly basis. These are friends of mine. I mean, the person for whom the horse is named is the wife of the person who owns this horse. And this is the second start of the year. I like the comeback race very much. I also like the fact that they reached out and got Flavien Prat, and he took the mount. I think that speaks volumes. So and once again, it's 8-1. I'm very happy. What I like here, one of the things, Seth, that probably the main uses I've been doing out of the buyer speed figure is when they have been made available for the buyer par to win this race, which I think is a soft, it's not a fast and firm thing. But okay, so for this, it's 76. Well, Lisa's Vision ran a 72 at the end of last year, and now as a 4-year-old. My point is, I read that as Lisa's Vision is within the scope of winning this race on average, and is 8-1. That makes me feel a little bit better because I would expect, as a 4-year-old filly, she would be able to improve off of her 3-year-old form. And according to the Daily Race Report, the buyer speed figure, a couple digits puts her right in the mix, and nobody in here is, running, except my third pick, any better. So I like 8-1 shots that I think are in the mix. Weekend Rags is my second pick, making the second start since January. Takes on winners for the first time, the same barn, the Jorge Abreu. And for third, Mike Maker sends out a runner taking on, after an explosive performance. And one thing that I do like is one of the things on I think Formulator is valuable for this, for the casual racing fan that is Weekend Warrior. They tell you whether the rails are up or not on the turf. And Craig Milkowski now is, and I said this last week, is really beating the drum about these teletimers when the rails are up. And with use Formulator, because it's my conviction that when the rails are down, you should believe the teletimer more. And when the rails are up, you should discount them completely. I mean, I would bet so much money that they're in, we've talked about it enough. But with the Formulator, they let you know while with the rails are up.
Third race this afternoon is
go.
the True North Grade 2 event. $250,000 up for grabs, 6.5 furlongs. And when I looked at handicap this race, I wonder.
I wish you had gone first for this race in particular.
Did Todd Fletcher miss the entry box for the later race? Fearless is just a weird look in here. But what are your thoughts in the North?
You'd like to know, what Seth's referring to is you have the defending champion in the Brooklyn, who I think was my only winner, right? Isn't that Fearless?
Yeah.
And so last year when I went 1 for the Belmont Stakes Day, it was Fearless. I took the bagel the following week, so that's it. Interesting that, but it's Todd Fletcher, and it's my one thought would be, and you see David Aragona 15-1, that he's just getting the race to right to begin the year.
This seems like a strange spot even to do that to start. It's
all right. We flip-flopped them, so I think the race goes between the 4 and the 5. 5 is Strobe, and as I said, Seth, he ran, his debut was the last race on Derby Day last year. And I maintain, I don't care what they gave Rich Strike, that his was the best buyer of the day. He got a 99 on dirt. And unlike Rich Strike, he's actually improved off of that. And I think, he's been, 2-5, 1-5, 1-5. I mean, today he's going to be the second choice, but Strobe is me. I'm not married to too many horses, and at 2-1, I'm certainly not married to Strobe, but he tried Stakes Company. He's been handled very conservatively by Brad Cox. I think, Seth, when you see a horse debut in this day and age like he did, you don't see the next 4 races allowance races unless it's Midnight Olive. That's about the only one I can think of. But to me, it's the 4 or the 5. I'm the 5, Strobe outside. Elite Power, to me, it's the old angle. You're coming back, from halfway around the world and a brilliant victory. Second start of the year for the winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I'm outside here. I like Strobe over Elite Power, with Synthesis third in the True North.
To me, Elite Power and Strobe are pretty evenly matched, but I tilted towards Elite Power just because the win, in the Middle East over Gunite, and Gunite looked good the other day. So I thought that flattered Elite Power. So I tilted slightly towards that one, but I agree. Strobe, as I say, those two are pretty evenly matched. If you're looking for alternatives, I thought Today's Flower coming out of the win last time was interesting, and Synthesis tossing the triple-digit buyer last time could add some value if you want to play around there a little bit. But for me, 4, 5, 1, and 2. And before we head to the first break, we'll do the dark horse play of the day. And I mentioned it yesterday. Thursday night, I was at a little event up in Saratoga Living Magazine.
Social calendar kicking off early this year, Seth?
Right. Saratoga Living Magazine celebrated their 25th anniversary. So they selected, and in their latest issue had 25. I don't know what the title actually was, but it was 25 kind of movers and shakers in Saratoga. I knew 5 of them. Kim Weir from the.
Well, aren't you one of them?
I should be, right? And well, I'll be in the top 50 for the 50th anniversary.
I hope I pick up a copy.
From the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Jim Bond was one of them.
Yes.
Mark Mulholland used to play pickup up in Saratoga years ago with the group I was playing with. But Marianne Barker and Maddie Zanetti from Dark Horse were amongst the top 25 there, the 25, as I say, movers and shakers.
The wife and I were in there one year at the gala. They came over and they liked our setup.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
But again, Maddie and Marianne, proprietors of Dark Horse and Impressions. And so Dark Horse Play of the Day brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile. This is the last weekend. They jumped on for the Triple Crown season. They'll be back, of course, for Saratoga with the Dark Horse Play of the Day, and we'll have to kind of try to match Saratoga's performance from last year. But normally I look for a little bit of value with the Dark Horse, but it's Belmont Stakes Day, so I'm going to go with towards the Belmont Stakes. Race number 12 this afternoon. I'm going to go with Angel of Empire. Like the horse in the Arkansas Derby, won nicely there. Like the horse in the Kentucky Derby. I thought the third place finish was a good result. The report is he's working very well leading into today's race, so I'm going to go there. My overall Capital OTB play of the day, I'm going to do an exacta box with Angel Empire and Tappet Trice, because Tappet Trice with Tappet, Todd Fletcher.
I'm very interested, once again, as I talked about National Treasure 3 weeks ago, I'm very intrigued on how they bet the Belmont today.
Yeah. I will agree, because, again, at 7-2, I normally look for a little more value, but 7-2 on Angel of Empire. But I have a feeling, just listening to people this week, there's been some Angel of Empire noise. So we'll see what we get. But the Dark Horse Play of the Day for this Saturday afternoon, race number 12, the Belmont Stakes, horse number 8, Angel of Empire.
And we'll take a quick break. When we come back, more on Belmont Stakes Day.
It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your number one choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet-friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga. Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Handicappers Report up to race number 4. Entry-level allowance going 7 on the dirt.
1, 6, 7, and 2. I'm going to put American Law on top for Danny Gargan, Kendrick Carmouche on board. Third start back off a layoff from very early, laid off from beginning of January to the beginning of April. But now the third start back off a couple of good tries. And I just think this horse in the hunt more often than not does not like to win necessarily. But I'm just hoping, again, off those last two is maybe primed to move forward. And I will read the record. 13 starts, 1 win, 7 seconds, and 3/3. So again, is always right in the mix. Just doesn't necessarily like to win. But I think that'll help the 4-1 morning line hold up or maybe go up a tick. Bouncer in the second spot, lightly raced Marquesi runner. 1 start this year. It was a Florida bred allowance non-winner, so 1 win down at Gulfstream. Luis Saez jumps on board today. That attracted my attention as well. But this horse seems to have improved from 2 to 3. And off of that improvement, I think fits here. And Life Changer, just typically like the top pick, is up in the mix. And it's one I think you have to have in the hunt if you're looking at some of those, exactas, tries, supers, or whatnot. In the fourth, 1, 6, 7, and 2.
We don't talk about it very often because we don't get large field size, but I was wondering if from the rail going 7/8 in a beefy field, I'm not really considering the last race because there was a 4-horse field from the rail, and I just think the components are dramatically different. We don't really have large field size as often as we would like. And with that into consideration, I thought this was a tremendously wide open race and, plenty of wagering action today. So I went 8-7-1 and taking on winners for the first time in the Peter Pan for Bill Morey didn't work out well, but this is a reasonable spot to find yourself in after breaking the maiden at 4 to 5, going a mile. And I just think we're going to sit a very good, comfortable trip on the outside with Dylan Davis. Life Changer for second, making only the second start since January, finished a beaten favorite in the mud on April Fool's Day. And for third, American Law, who I just think is getting all the worst of it in this double-digit field size from the rail, but will be very tough in here. 8-7-1.
I debated your top pick. I'm just wondering if that second start wasn't a little Baby Yoda-ish.
Very reasonable, but once again, as I always like to say, the higher the price, the more questions you get to ask. Baby Yoda was always short coming back after that 114, which will no longer appear on the charts for most people.
Fifth race this afternoon. It is the poker grade 3 event, $200,000 of 1 mile on the grass.
And there was a while, Seth, in recent history that this was the Independence Day feature. When they moved the Suburban off, the poker, I would say maybe 5, 6, 7 times ran on Independence Day. Terrific race. So go ahead and find it here. I'm usually against my top pick, but I like him today, and Seth doesn't have him at all. So 6-1-7. Emmanuel, I just think that this is actually okay. The mile, I think, is okay. The Maker's Mark mile is one of the 3 or 4 best mile turf races in America. It's a grade 1. The poker is a very nice race. It's not nearly that. I think this is the right water seeking its own level. I think this is where Emmanuel could be very tough to pay. Irad Ortiz in the saddle. I think this is a chance that you'll receive, a double-digit mutual on an Irad horse who I think, fits the bill very well. For second, Shea Pierre going down, making the first start since winning the grade 1 Maker's Mark in April. And for third, number 7 going out for Mark Cassie. Second start since August. Like the comeback race at Woodbine. 5.5 on the Tapeta. Beaten favorite, but should prep well for here. 6-1-7 in the poker.
I have a 2-1, 5, and 7. I put Emirati on top, Chad Brown, Michael Dubb and company. That seemed to get better at the end of last year. Now has been off since the very end of Saratoga, early in September. So that's the question mark. And this is an 8-year-old, but it's Chad Brown who can typically have them ready. You're looking at 6-1 on the morning line. And I think with the layoff, that might hold up. Shea Pierre is obviously the horse to beat off a win in that prestigious Maker's Mark mile and a nice win to boot. So we'll see what this one can do and possibly string a couple together. And then Anaconda in the third spot for Joe Sharp off a nice win
stakes win here at Belmont in the most recent effort. Tyler Gaffalione hopping on board. I think this is one where, as demonstrated by our selections, I could point to another 2 or 3 and probably have equal confidence. It's a nice addition of the poker. I have a 2, 1, 5, and 7.
That's why I went 1 for 13 last year on this day. And the one was the Brooklyn, where Fearless, who's in the True North, got home. But now we're going to run 12 furlongs on the dirt on what used to be the wrap up to the handicap Triple Crown.
I wish they'd bring something like that back, because certainly in the handicap division, it would be fun to have, horses you could and a little bit of a mid-year season for those types that you could.
And I will say this:
onto.
I know it would never happen, but in my opinion, that series was harder to win, and Fit to Fight was the last one to win it, because obviously the Met Mile, you had killers in there, and you had to be able to beat those killers and then eventually run a 1.25 miles against usually killers in the Suburban. And the 1.5 mile Brooklyn would usually be a little lighter. But I always thought in Fit to Fight, his will be, it was 84 was the last one. Now, a lot of it's like the English Triple Crown. It wasn't competed for very much. But I thought on the rigors of it all, that was a tough sweep.
It'd be fun if they had something
It sure
similar
would be.
these days. 2, 7, 5, and 4.
Ooh,
I'll put
nice.
Red Run on top. Mike Maker, Tyler Gaffalione. Obviously, you look down the page. There aren't a lot of the marathon efforts, but certainly looked good going 1.5 miles last time. And so with that one under the belt, and Mike Maker being kind of a guy you can trust with horses going a trip, I'll take a little pop with Red Run. Warrant in the second spot. This one has much more of a marathonish resume for Brad Cox. And this one, in fact, finished just in front of my top pick last time. So I think these two, both coming out of that 1.5 mile stakes race down at Churchill, are likely to be competitors in here this afternoon. And running third in that event was Next, coming off of some triple-digit buyers to end last year. That seasonal debut, I think, could have the horse set up to maybe get closer to what we did see in those last two of 2022. So for me, 2, 7, 5, and 4.
My only difference is I have Bright Future, and I'm wondering if it doesn't make a lot of sense, but these are the same people as Fearless, and then maybe they just were like, we got to get Fearless started. Bright Future is started, and it's the third start of the year.
He's interesting too, coming out of 4 mile races.
He's very interesting, but what scares me about me for him is he did the type of thing that I really like when you get he came back off the layoff, the June layoff, and ran very well off the deck. And then he had the slight regression that I anticipate with runners. And now it's the third race, and it's the move forward off of, for me, I'm thinking of moving forward off the 96, not the 91. So I have him for third, but I'm with you, 2-7 on top, 2-7-4 for me.
All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, we will continue our look at Belmont Park on Belmont Stakes Day. Stay tuned.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, and Anthony Mormino. We are looking at Belmont Stakes Day action. Plenty of stakes, graded stakes, including grade ones like the grade one Ogden Phipps, race number 7 this afternoon. $500,000 up for grabs for the ladies, going 8.5 furlongs.
Now, this is one race, Seth. When they moved it to the undercard, I thought moved up. Now, a couple of years they ran it for $1 million. I mean, when this was the old Hempstead, it just didn't garner nearly the attraction that it gets now. I mean, this is a national race. If it's up there with the Apple Blossom, this and the Personal Ensign, this is a national race. They're running it for $500,000 now. 2, 4, 6 for me. And I will say this, that I'm big on search results today. I think the 2 or 3 more named horses in here, I think search results fits right with them. And I believe I'm going to get the best price of the 3. I mean, I feel strongly that I'm going to get by far the best price. And I think she's shoulder to shoulder with Secret Oath, my second pick. Wayne Coach seems to have gotten her back. She makes the Belmont debut after running in the Preakness and then sitting it out till Saratoga. She's back. She's probably better than ever. Ran her career best in the Apple Blossom. And for third, Clairiere. The one thing I'll say about Clairiere is, boy, she was good last year, real good, career best in this race. I've usually been pretty good with Clairiere. I was against her as a 3-year-old when people were thinking, and she had a very good 4-year-old season. It's a terrific addition of the Ogden Phipps. I like search results, though. She could be a $10 mutual for me. 2, 4, 6.
I have it 6, 4, 2, and 5, and I have liked Clairiere for quite a while.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, last year in this race, a 106. She was coming out of a second in the Apple Blossom behind Latruska. And I was thinking, as you were talking, I was looking and thinking, was that the last big effort from Latruska? Yes, it was, because then in the Phipps, she ran 5th. In the Personal Ensign 3rd, and then the Spinster 4th. But that was kind of the end of her really good run. But she was still really good there. So Clairiere comes out of the second to Latruska and follows it up with the lifetime best in the Ogden Phipps. Well, she comes out of a phenomenal effort in this year's Apple Blossom, where just the field size and the pace setup was not playing to her, but she ran them down late. Has had plenty of time off to be ready for this one. And I think Clairiere is going to be tough in here today. Secret Oath has done very well for the coach, certainly. Like Clairiere is verging on $3 million. Secret Oath has over $2 million. So I put that one in the second spot and search results down in the third spot. I'm going to be interested to see what these horses coming out of the La Troyenne do, because Played Hard I have down in the 4th spot, but she beat Secret Oath in search results in the La Troyenne last time. So, this is a very nice addition, with those 4, I think, being the ones that are most intriguing. I have it 6, 4, 2, and 5.
8th race on the card used to be named after my first favorite horse of all time, the Riva Ridge. Now it's the Woody Stevens, 3-year-old, going 7/8.
Look at this field of 13.
And it's we had this issue the other day. It's I feel Fort Bragg is going to scratch out. Yeah. I mean, that is as it is going to happen, that Fort Bragg is going to scratch out of this race, folks.
Yeah, field of 13 entered, but it was on Twitter. And
David Grenning reported it.
Fort Bragg.
Bob Baffert didn't call me.
But I have it 4, 3, 11, and 6. I'm going to put General Jim on top. I'm going to be curious to see how the year plays out, because I think General Jim legitimately could be a player in this 3-year-old division as the year goes. But that's also going to be dependent on where they pick the spots. Will they stick with these sprint-like races? Will they stretch out eventually? We'll see. But I think
will he go back to turf?
Yeah,
he's not doing that.
The options are all there, but I think it's going to be a decision, short or long. I liked him in the Pat Day Mile, won there at 5-1. I'm going to use him here on the cutback to the 7. Luis Saez back on board again today. I'll tilt in that direction. Arabian Lion, going to be very interested to see 4-1. I I think off of that win in the Sir Barton, a lot of people will be tilting strongly towards Arabian Lion. And I think off of that win in the Sir Barton, that will be a deserved tilt in that direction. And then Victory Formation for me. Interesting runner for Brad Cox. Like General Jim, I think as the year progresses, this horse may be a player in the division. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they run well in here in this sprint race. But I think given what we saw to start the career, I think Victory Formation is dangerous in here. Harrodsburg for Rob Atras off a couple of okay starts, pretty good starts so far, is maybe a little bit intriguing with some upside in start number 3. But I have it 4-3, 11 and 6.
I took a flyer here. I'm 11-3-2. I'm hoping Victory Formation can stay somewhat close to what I think will be a hot pace, and then coming out of route races, he's got a bottom in it, and he just runs them down at a big price for Brad Cox and Flojo. For a second, Arabian Lion, who's, the General Jim is 7-2, Arabian Lion's 4-1. Those are the two chalks in here. And then I have Gun Pilot, who I thought, I wish I'd seen a little bit more in the Pate Mile. What I'm hoping happens here is there's a stronger pace to go at it. So 11-3-2 in a very nice edition of the Woody Stevens.
And a nice edition of the Jaipur Grade 1 event, $400,000. And if you've never, it is on YouTube, right? Jaipur and Raidan, if you've never seen that.
Oh, the 1962 Travers.
You want to see two horses go at
every
it.
inch.
Jaipur Grade 1, $400,000 on the grass at 6 furlongs. And again, another nice full field on the day.
I know it's a little thing, but I think if you look, the poker was for 4-year-olds and up. The Jaipur is for 3-year-olds and up. Just thought that was interesting.
No, that is
wide. I mean, if you like Caravel, more power to you. 8, 13, and 11. Well, we agree on the 11. That's about it. Arrest Me Red for Wesley Ward, making the 3rd start of the year. I talked about it earlier. The big comeback race, the little regression. Now we move forward at 6-1 with Irad in the saddle, going far outside, go to the 13 front. Run the Fed. This is the 2nd start of the year. The comeback race might have been too good, but we're on the outside. They're going to all run and go crazy, and that's fine, and we can settle in, but then I have to get through the traffic, and that could be hard. And for 3rd, Casa Creed, I don't think it's getting any love. And, this is obviously a defending position, and I think this 7-year-old is still keeping on. It's wide open to me. I could probably go 6 deep and not feel confident I had the winner. 8, 13, and 11.
I have your top pick in the 4th spot, 11, 12, 10, and 8. I put Casa Creed on top. I always like to root for Lee Einseidler.
Easy to root for.
He wound up with a really good one in Casa Creed. Over $2 million in earnings. They went over to the Mideast, and boy, this horse ran a huge race there. Just wound up just missing. Defending champ in this race. I'm going to put Casa Creed on top. Caravel, she's phenomenal. And as I understand it, the connections were discussing Royal Ascot and tilted here instead. And so I thought that was maybe a little bit intriguing as well. But boy, she has just been a really, really super performer. And she's faced off against males in the past and done well. We'll see what she can do this afternoon. And then
was she 3-1?
3-1 on the morning line. And then in the 3rd spot, Big Invasion, 6-1. Going to be interested to see what this horse goes off at, because certainly the last couple of starts, when compared to this bunch, have not necessarily been enough to warrant taking too much of a look. But I think if you look down the page, this horse in the 3rd start back, if we get back to a better effort, this horse could be interesting at maybe a little bit of a price for Clement, Dean Reeves, Joel Rosario on board. I have it 11, 12, 10, and 8.
All right, we'll take our final break. When we come back, the late pick 4.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at CapitalOTB.com.
Your turn? My turn?
Even. It's you today.
It's you today?
Yeah.
All right. The Met Mile, one of my, besides the Breeders' Cup and the Triple Crown, it's my favorite race. I think Palace Mouse won the first one on the undercard of the Belmont Stakes years ago. One of the great races in the American turf. $1 million going the mile.
Will White-Obario get his grade one?
No.
I was almost tempted to put him on top.
I would have. You'd have had a bagel. You'd have been 0 for 1 race.
7, 1, 3, and 6 for me.
10-1 isn't enough.
Repo Rocks has just been so phenomenal since he moved into the new barn.
That's one word for it.
And the last was phenomenal as well in the Westchester. Cody's Wish I have underneath, and Cody's Wish I think is going to be the horse to beat. But, in these days, I don't look at weight that much. But do note, Repo Rocks gets 4 pounds from Cody's Wish. So I'm tilting slightly in the direction of Repo Rocks. Cody's Wish, though, obviously the good story horse. And off of the seasonal debut will be the one to beat. Dr. Shivel, the West Coast-based sprinter, is very, very good. And also coming off a seasonal debut that I think makes him very interesting in here. Zandon, I didn't know what to do with. I put down in the 4th spot, but Zandon wouldn't shock me at all. Fun race, but for me, 7, 1, 3, and 6.
There I was at Del Mar watching Aloha West go by my Dr. Shivel. Oh, what could have been. The book that this game should be read out. I'm 5-6-1 in here, and I know everybody's off the Charge It bandwagon, but I don't think that this year is as bad as it looks. The Gulfstream Park Mile was a bad spot after a huge comeback race off the layoff. Now, a guy like me, I expect regression, but I will tell you this. I would have expected a greater regression if you want to use the Beyer speed figures. And the Oaklawn handicap, I think that just helps me get to here. I'm 6-1. I'm in on Chargers. Zandon for second might be a little bit of a reach for Chad. And Flavian Prat gets to mount back. He rode this horse in the 3-year-old season. And then Cody's Wish was the horse to beat. 126 from the rail. Just a great horse race. If White-Obario wins it and you only get $22, you got robbed.
And I was looking at Charge It because his best race was clearly the mile at Belmont. So, yeah, I looked at him. But, again, it's a race where
I don't know. I don't think it's 4-year-old season. I mean,
I agree.
People start to look at, you got beat at 3-5. I'm like, okay, I wasn't going to win the Oaklawn handicap, but I think that gets me to here.
The 11th today is the Manhattan Grade 1 event, $750,000, 1.25 miles on the turf.
At 5:54, 4-year-olds and up. And this is a classic example. Doing the show on May 13th, Man of War Day, I think he was like 5-2 on the morning line. There's no way Mormino wants him at 3-5. I think today, though, because of that loss, and I thought that loss was reasonable based on the way the race was run. I want Warren Point today at $12. And I'm the second time Charles Appleby who makes this game look far too easy. And trust me, Godolphin has, been running horses a long time in the United States, but Charles Appleby's runs really well. Soldier Rising is my second pick, second start of the year. Another horse who I thought had little chance in the Man of War. And then Red Knight, who won the Man of War, makes the third start of the year. It's a very competitive group here. I don't even have Ottoman Fleet in the books. The other Charles Appleby, which is, maybe he's the better one with William Buick. So 3, 5, 6.
Yeah, I was surprised that Warren Point got so much action because I don't think he's a typical Charles Appleby horse. So I was against him a little bit that day. I'm more against him today. Originally out in the mix and then tossed him out. I went 8, 4, 5, and 7 up to the mark on top for Todd Pletcher, coming in off a nice string of races, including the lifetime best performance last time. So just comes in really good form. Irad on board. Ottoman Fleet is of the Appleby horses, obviously the one I like a little bit better. Came over here and won nicely in the Fort Marcy, and Soldier Rising for Christophe Clement coming out of the nice second place finish in the Man of War. And I think that bodes well for a good try this afternoon in the second start back. The 11th at Belmont, the Manhattan, 8, 4, 5, and 7.
And after you cut the lawn in the 6 o'clock hour, at 7:02, the Belmont Stakes.
8, 2, 6, and 4 for me. I mentioned it earlier. I like Angel of Empire in the Arkansas Derby. And he won that very nicely. And then I thought ran well in the Kentucky Derby, working well, according to Mike Welch, who's been here in New York for the past couple of weeks for the Racing Forum, looking at the workout. So I'll go in that direction. Tappet Trice by Tappet, trained by Todd Pletcher. You have a sire and a trainer who can produce Belmont Stakes winners. So I think this one's interesting. My Capital OTB play of the day today is a box of those two, the 2-8, 8-2 exacta play. Forte may wind up being the best 3-year-old of the year, but this to me is just a really tough ask. The situation at the Derby with the scratch that has put him on the sidelines.
Doesn't National Treasure wrap up the 3-year-old championships?
Well,
I mean, it's amazing how this has turned.
Yeah, it's
if he wins, it's like, what just happened?
Two legs of the But Forte off since April 1st. I couldn't pull the trigger coming back in the 1.5 miles.
I'm with you.
And National Treasure I have down in the 4th spot because he'll try to steal it again. And in a 1.5 miles, if they lope along, maybe he does. But for me, 8, 2, 6, and 4.
I think it's a wide open race. Obviously, Forte, I don't trust either the Tappet horses, but I just kept coming back to, I know I beat the Wood Memorial race up on our Kentucky Derby show, but the more I thought about this, I'm hit show. I think, I liked Red Route 1 in the Preakness. He's live in here, but I think there's a lot of talent here with Tappet on the bottom side, Candy Ride, Manny Franco, big moment. I just think I fit in here as well as National Treasure, as well as Forte, and I'm going to be 2 or 3 times the price. Angel of Empire. I would actually question why you're adding blinkers today. I thought the Derby run that you got was pretty darn good, but they want to add blinkers to sharpen them. Well, I hope he maintains that kick after he gets his speed sharpened. And then Forte, I just as easily could have left this horse out. 3rd was as high as I could put this horse. He's not in my exacta. You mentioned the Tappet horses. You mentioned National Treasure. My 4th horse would be number 9, Red Route 1 in here. But I think Hit Show is a live double-digit horse in an American Classic. I'm very intrigued for this race. Obviously, it's it's just unique that it's 12 furlongs. Who wants the distance? But 7 o'clock, and it should be a terrific competitive renewal.
13th and final today at Belmont. State bred allowance runners going a 1 mile and 16th on the grass.
11, 12, and 5 for me. King of Comedy, one of my favorite movies of all time. That's not why I picked this horse. Second time versus winners, Luis Saez, Mike Maker, 20-1 at about 747. Yeah, good luck with that. For 3rd, The 12 horse from Mark Henning, very live off of the layoff. Flavien Prat, after riding this horse at 20-1, takes the mount back and sells something for a third. Gary Siaka, 11, 12, 5.
I'm on the inside, 1, 3, and 2. I'll put Spirit of St. Louis on top for Chad, Michael Dubb, Mataket and company. A couple of starts earlier this year that seemed promising. Clear Conscience for Christophe Clement. Seasonal debut is certainly one to kind of hang your hat on. And Let's Go Big Blue for Augustin. Yeah, named appropriately, obviously, who's shown some nice promise as well so far. 1, 3, 2, and 5 for me in the third.
On a quick other subject, how about your Jets? You got a chance. You're going to have a heartbeat.
It's kind of fun to see. Yeah.
Every 50 years, you get the best quarterback, and you got a chance. Great day of racing, as it should be. Hopefully the weather will be fantastic down in Elmont. Naira does a great job putting on this card. Obviously, if there's a Triple Crown on the line, it's a different story. But from horse racing, I mean, the horses that'll be paraded out here today, it's just a fantastic. And the wagering options, it's just as good for the historian as it is for the gambler. This is a gambling day, the opportunities to bet. If you beat Warlike Goddess yesterday, the New York Stakes, you're into the Met Mile today. Good luck there. Champions on the board. And we'll see if National Treasure can wrap up the 3-year-old colt thing, which 22 days ago, you didn't think that was a sentence you could say without being laughed at. He stays, I go, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great Belmont Stakes day.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.